Hello, 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 Berkeley. But don't be rude. You can say it back. Hello, Berkeley. Let's do it one more time. Hello, Berkeley. My name is Sean Finney, and I just want to start this off with a really simple question, y'all, and I don't want you to think too deep about it. The question is, where were you before you were born? It's a mystery, isn't it? What happens after you die? It's another mystery. I mean, honestly, life is a mystery. And if you slow the word mystery down, it becomes my story. And that's kind of what we're all living. Well, we're not all living my story, we're living our story, the story we tell ourselves, about what we can do, be, and have, and how far we can take this thing called life. And we measure it all up typically by one word: success. Success. What does it mean to be successful? For example, how many of you have ever asked the question, what am I doing with my life? If you've texted, tweeted it, journaled it, raise your hand like you have on good deodorant. Good deodorant? Okay. We ask the question because we believe inherently that our life is not successful. But what does it mean to be successful? How do we quantify success? And most importantly, because success has so many authors, who gets to determine what success is? You do. You get to determine what success is. We're in this space consistently where we're always trying to redefine it. And I'm here to offer a simple yet slightly uncomfortable perspective. And that is, if you are consistently looking for success outside of yourself, if you find yourself bending and folding every time the world redefines success around you, or you feel deflated when your internal dialogue and metric of success does not match your external dialogue and metric of success, then friends, I love you so much and I know we're new friends, but it's you. You're the problem. But you're also the solution. Life is weird, and it's been weird these last couple of weeks. We're not going to say why, but it's been weird. And adulting is odd. I actually wanted to name my talk or talk about like the survivor's guide to adulting, but I realized I'm still surviving myself, and I don't know that it would have been safe to bring you along the journey. But what I can share are just some specifics that I'm working towards on my own. One, the power, the ability, and the permission I give myself to unlearn. Unlearn what I can be, do, and have by X time, by this time, by doing this or that thing, and also the power to redefine. Redefine words, redefine terms, redefine what success is, and also redefine phrases. How many of us have heard the phrase, be humble? Yeah? Yeah. Be humble. We're expected to be bold, be brilliant, go in the room and negotiate for our lives and for our jobs and for everything else, but be humble. But when's the last time you've heard the definition of be humble? Having or showing a low estimate of one's own importance, of low social, political, or administrative rank. I know we're fast friends, but something tells me that this might not quite be the definition of success in being humble. And that's what success is: the power to redefine it anytime, every time, all the time. Success does not always feel like success. Success sometimes feels like you're losing. Success also feels like leaving the good to grasp the greater. And this is what I learned early on in my career. I started off as a singer, songwriter. I've written hundreds of songs, recorded hundreds of songs. I have my videos on MTV, VH1. I performed on BET, though that was not my best performance. I survived off of gummy bears and tuna fish. I exhausted all of my friends' spare rooms and their couches and had crazy jobs like delivering newspapers at 3 a.m. in Queens to be able to do it. So in 2013, when I moved to Los Angeles, within 6 months of me being there, I got offered a recording contract. Similar to sports, I got drafted by a team, y'all. Success. This is what it looks like. Well, until we reviewed the terms and conditions of said contract. And at that time, realized that the creative control I was not going to be able to have, my identity would be up to the corporation, and everything that I had worked towards at that time was like not successful at all. And it's weird that I could have all of this success, but none of it actually belonged to me. I was advised by the attorney that I was working with to say no to the contract. Now, this sounds really bold and like affirming. I did not want to say no. Let me be very clear. I wanted to say yes 110%, but I ultimately ended up saying no. The day after I said no, my car that was already being shipped here from New York City arrived in Los Angeles. My 1998 Toyota Camry. Situations and circumstances would have me living in this car for months. LA Fitness became my sanctuary and my gym. And I became professional at pretending like everything was cool and everything was all right. This was my first foray into understanding no can sometimes be success. My first foray into really understanding that success is this confined and construct that we put on ourselves. And also, most importantly, that success can change at any time. And the no forced me to not only ask what I wanted, but why I wanted it to begin with and what I was willing to release in order to attain it. I wasn't willing to release myself at that time. But this is a lesson that I would carry into my next journey, the Oscars. I started off as the temp assistant to the CEO of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. Fancy, huh? I spent most of my time trying to understand what my job was and the other time just trying to survive. In the film community, there was a big thing that happened called Oscars So White. Not sure if you've heard of that hashtag, but it really looked at the difference of representation within the organization. There was a void. I felt I had value. So what did I do? I created a job description, proposed it, submitted it, and I was promoted into that position. What's interesting about that, because no one told me that I could. No one also told me that I couldn't. And I think that that's where we get lost. And sometimes in success, we think that it's a road that we all have to see clear, and it's a road that you have to barricade through. Within a couple of years of me being there, I was promoted to Executive Vice President, Global Outreach and Awards Administration. I became the youngest executive ever at the time on the senior team, the only Black man ever appointed to said position, and I was able to make impactful change. I was able to promote individuals within the organization that I knew, that I worked with, who deserved it. I was able to add impactful strategies and work with the team. And most importantly, I was able to hire people that reflected the world. This is success. This is what it looks like. I mean, I'm on all of these covers, y'all. Y'all gotta give it up. Success. I was there for about a decade. And as things would have it, we had a new leader that came into the organization. The new leader had different understandings of values and success. Didn't quite match up to mine. So after 10 years, it was time to jump again. It was time to redefine success all over again. But at this point, we got to get really careful, y'all, because sometimes it's easy to look at our own success through the perception of other people. We're living it. We're in it. We're absorbing it. We're excited by it. I'm proud of it. And we can't be identified by it. And I would go home and I would be like, it's me. I'm clearly the problem here. And I realized the problem was me identifying myself to something outside of myself and not really working within myself in the parameters that I have. So I jumped. Where did I jump to? Well, nowhere. I didn't have a job when I jumped. But when I jumped, 6 months, about a week later, we went into a strike for 6 months. 6 months, I would be sitting, resting, releasing, resetting. Had to move from my apartment, burn through my savings. At this point, I had reached the pinnacle and the height of a lot of success. And it was time to find it again. I consulted, I worked with some filmmakers, I worked with studios. I hosted a show on LA Times. I literally did anything and everything. And then a really good friend of mine, somebody whose work I 100% respect, was like, it's time for us to take a step in culture, time for us to take a step and bet on ourselves. And we launched the Cultural Agency, working with film, TV, working across all different brands around audience engagement and around really being able to continue to determine what success means on our own accord. So how do we redefine success? Well, first we got to ask ourselves, what does success mean to us, not the world? And then separately, what are we willing to do? For me, I had to return back to who I was before the world starts to close us in and box us in. I had to reclaim everything that I gave away when I was broken and restore the power, my natural inheritance that I have, that you have, that we all have. And from that perspective, expand. A dream realized can be a dream reimagined, and a dream reimagined can be a dream redefined at any given time. It's you. You're the solution. You always have been, and you always will be. Thank you so much.